Welcome to the Money and Business Hero podcast, where we talk about the three pillars of financial success: money mindset, money management, and money making. My name is Florian Fritz, and today I have a very special guest. Today we're going to talk about a topic that's maybe not super typical for our podcast. We're going to talk about relationships. And my guest for that is Annie Kallis. She's a relationships architect who helps couples get over resentment, hurt, and fear using her AKRA method that she developed over the last 10 years. She's worked with lots of couples and took great joy in celebrating their transformations with them. And she says no house can be built without a strong foundation from the ground up. The same can be said of relationships. And using her AKRA method, she helps you build strong foundations for a relationship that can withstand the storms of life. And today we're going to talk with her about those financial storms of life. Welcome, Annie Kallis.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad that I can join and possibly give some ideas or just an insight into relationships, because even though this is a money and business a podcast and show, and I know that you talk a lot about business. However, people have personal lives and people work in general to create a lifestyle, and majority of people have families. And based on the statistics, 70% of separations and divorces are on the back of financial problems, financial challenges, arguments, misunderstandings. So I thought it would be a great idea to sort of put in my two cents worth and see if anyone who's listening could actually benefit from it. So I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. And I totally agree. We all have relationships, right? And money is not only a part of our life, but also a big part of our relationships. And as you said, if 70% of separations happen because of money issues, then it's definitely worth talking about in a money podcast, no?
That's right.
So
yes.
Let's start with what causes those financial storms of life, the money problems. How do they appear in a relationship?
Thank you. And I do have some notes, so I'm going to be looking down because I want to make sure that I don't forget anything. So one of the reasons is why people disagree or argue is because sometimes their dreams and their goals are different. And when a couple come together, there's a lot of excitement. There's that hot period when there's lots of, they're in love. So in love is different from being loving and the big love. So that's the when you constantly think about your partner, so and you're not working either because you're sitting there at work fantasizing about your partner. So that's the in love period. But at that time, they're so wrapped up in each other that they continue the relationship and they're excited. But 2 years later, they sometimes start finding difficulties because one person has different values from the other when it comes to money, and they never had a conversation. And if they keep that going, that actually expands and it can become a big issue. And in a lot of relationships, one is a spender, one is a saver. And that's okay. And I mean, as they say, opposites attract, but there's not two people that are the same. However, they need to be able to come to a common understanding of how does that work in order to benefit the relationship. Now, the other thing is financial infidelity, where people go and spend money on the outside. So they don't tell their partner, they lie, out of fear or whatever their reason is. So that's called financial infidelity. So, it's a hidden purchase. And I've spoken to couples that have done that. And the whole basis of that was the fear of getting in trouble from their partner.
The partner wouldn't agree with that purchase.
Well, they think that their partner wouldn't understand. And in general, a lot of that is based on upbringing or past programming, Possibly it can be a former partner from a long time ago, but the what would I call it? The stigma is still there, and the hurt is still there, and the reaction is still there, the emotion is still there. So that's in the subconscious. So they possibly forgot, but somehow the new partner, who's very loving, but they might say something that triggers that old memory, and then they're stuck in that until they address it and they clear it. The other things could be a lack of trust. So money can be a source of tension in relationships, and that creates mistrust because people start to put meanings to what your partner said, and then it starts to become a paranoia at times, and that they start mistrusting their partner. So every time there's conversation about money, there's a trigger. They get very triggered, and then they sort of back off, and there's no trust. And is also poor health is a big issue. So sometimes stress, personal stress. And I found this, I don't want to generalize, but I found this where men are very different from women. You know, women are the nurturers and the guys are the, you know, the warriors. They go out and they source things, right? So it's an innate thing. And I don't want to generalize, but it's an innate thing, right? So men I've found through my conversations with many couples is the men feel, and it also in my own personal experience, where men find this duty that they have to provide. And then, and in general, like a man's career can grow and grow. Therefore, lifestyle grows. But there's always this underlying pressure that they feel and they think that everybody puts upon them to make more money, to create a better lifestyle for their family, because then they're considered a good provider, a good husband, a good father, and so forth. So a lot of that can create so much pressure. And at the same time, unhappiness in a relationship where there's no intimacy, and I'm not even talking about physical intimacy, emotional intimacy, emotional connection. And a lot of people go out there and start spending and buying things because it gives them that quick fix. But ultimately, it doesn't. Because you can go buy the big shiny thing, and within a month, it's not a big shiny thing anymore. It's just there. So these are some of the challenges that can happen in relationships.
Different expectations or different ways of handling money, like savers and spenders. Lack of trust, or what you called, I like that, the financial infidelity.
Yes.
That you go and buy things, and putting stress on you with expectations again, right? I need to be the great provider and bring more money and have more stress.
That's right.
Okay, so now what do we do about it? How can couples, relationships handle that and solve the money issue?
Yes, thank you. So for the first one, for example, is people got to recognize and appreciate the differences in their way of being and who they are. Now, a person is a spender. They got to figure out why they keep spending. It's not, I don't think it's a natural behavior to just keep spending money. You can love money, but you don't need to spend it all the time. And at the same time, on the other spectrum, sometimes people live in a fear that they're not going to have money. So they have an insecurity around it, and they're very stressed about it all the time. So there's the saver and then there's the spender. So it's a good idea to sit down and find out from each other why. What does that do for you? What does that do for you? And then start to understand it and say, so how can we bring that together that we both enjoy our money? And because, I mean, you're working for a living. You're not living to work. You're working for a living, even though in this world at the moment, everybody is living for work, looks like it, right? So, but the whole idea is to start to understand your differences and communicate. And that communication, when you start to understand why the other person does it, and then supporting each other, and then, you know, building the future, how they want to do it. So, and support and accept the differences. Okay. And therefore, the financial infidelity is not going to start happening. Right. So that can go hand in hand with it, because all of a sudden, if you know that the other person gets upset because they're real savers, so they can have $300,000 in the bank and they are still worried that they don't have the security. Because when is enough enough? It's okay to have, and the other thing is, I actually spoke to, today I had a coaching session with a couple and we were talking about, it just so happened we talked about money. And then I said to them, have you looked up the definition of what is financial security? What is financial freedom? What is financial independence? They all mean different things. So when you know the definitions, then you create the goals accordingly and then you work towards them. Because if you live in a fear, oh, I need to be this, I need to be that, I need to be that, and I want to make this much, but how much is enough? How much is comfortable? So these are the conversations that a couple should be having.
Okay.
To not have the debates and the arguments, which 70% of people have, and in the end, they just go, that's it, we're done.
Okay, so
they still love each other, but they separate because they don't understand each other about money.
Mm-hmm. So they should define how much is financial security, which, by the way, is having money on the side for emergencies, or for, as I call, the safety fund, depending on your level of safety, 3 to 6 months of monthly expenses. Financial independence, which is your passive income, is covering your monthly expenses. And financial freedom, which is your passive income. That can be investment income, of course, can be something passive business income as well, covers your the lifestyle that you want, right?
Yes.
So define your numbers.
Yep.
And then you know how much money you want to have for each of those 3 things, right?
Well, that's right. And I think that's really...
Sorry to interrupt. Does that really help a saver who wants to have more and more and more safety?
I believe that when you clear, and I do a lot of goal setting now. I'm not a financial person, so I don't do financial goal setting. But when I do goal setting with my couples, we look at the different areas of their life. So it's pertinent that you look not only at your career, because your career, okay, so you work for a living and you have a career and you have a goal about that. But the money that you make in that, now make a goal about that. So where is this going to go? What is it going to do? Now, if you want to have passive income, a lot of people are getting educated now about money, which is wonderful. Well, I know that I am, and everybody around me is. So people are starting to really catch on to the fact that if you just work in a job, well, that's okay, because if you love your job, that's great. Or if you have a business. However, as you said before, you got to have something that brings you a bit of something when you're sleeping, you know, whatever that is. It can be property, it can be stocks, it can be foreign exchange, it can be whatever it is, right? It could be network marketing, it could be products, whatever it is, whatever rocks your boat, right? But as long as you know that there's something else that's going to bring you some kind of income. But unless you're clear of the number of what you want, then where are you going? I was actually talking to my son today, who wants to go to Japan next year. And I said, well, based on what do you want to do, how long you want to be going for, prices have gone up, flights, accommodation, fun. He's 20, you know, you're looking at between $10,000 to $20,000. Now, do you know how you're going to make that, considering you only earn this much? So when I started doing the numbers with him, he had heart failures. He goes, oh, I don't make that much money. I said, that's okay. Don't worry. Now let's look at what else can you do.
Well,
so,
you're an amazing mom if you teach your kid, go get yourself some passive income, right? Most kids learn, go get a job.
Well, passive income, I mean, he's got something going on in the background, but that's for his long term. So that's not for his trip to Japan, but he's only working part-time at the moment. So I said to him, a full-time job would give you this much money, and you could save this much, and you could put money in here, money in here, money in here. And then on the side, you can put some money on the side so you can start saving for something else and whatever. So I haven't reached the passive income. He's doing something, but I don't think he geared onto it that that's going to be passive income in the long term. But one step at a time. I think I want him, he's got good work ethic, so I want him to work so he gets be in that environment where he goes in and has responsibility. And I keep teaching him to have his own business. Do something with your passion. Do something with your passion. But, yeah.
Wow, that's great. That's great. That's a huge advantage later because, we still teach our kids, go to school, get a job. And
Oh, no, I've been telling my son, I think, do you really want to work for somebody else or you want to work for yourself? And he said, eventually I want to work for myself, but I would love to go out there and experience things. And I think that's quite clever.
Yeah, sure. Learn from others how they do it. That makes sense.
That's right.
As long as you don't get addicted to that paycheck, and that keeps you from fulfilling your dreams.
That's okay. He's got his mama here to keep him in check.
To remind him. Okay,
that's right.
So couples should define their financial goals as well together.
That's right. Absolutely. Their financial goals. And I think financial education should be somewhere in there. So when I do the goals with couples, we look at their personal/family goals, their community, their family, so forth, their career, their financials, and then also their personal growth. So personal growth is education. So it's great to have personal development. Alongside in personal development, develop your financial knowledge. And this is something that I learned. I never learned that at all, ever. I didn't learn that in high school. So I did science. How funny. I did science and I ended up being a coach. How about that? So it's okay. But I never learned about money. And then in my upbringing, we don't have money. We don't have money. Do you think money grows on trees? So all those typical statements, can I? No. Can I? No. No. I was always being told no. So then when I left the family home, I went and anything that I made, I just spent because I had nobody telling me no, right? So then, even though I lived within my means, but I lived from paycheck to paycheck. And back then I had no idea about passive income. Like that was 30 years ago. So I had no idea, right? And then you get into a marriage and you're in love. And I talk about my experience. We didn't really talk about money. And we got ourselves in a little bit of strife, but we never budgeted together. And this brings me to the second thing that I wanted to share. How can you stop fighting about money? It's really important that you decide together, are you going to have joint bank accounts? So all your money goes into one pool, and then you work together on a budget, and then you also give yourself, you have to give each other permission, not permission, because you don't need permission from anyone to do what you do, but each of you pay yourselves, and then you have your play money, because you got to have your play money. You can't just, everything is for the house, because then you're not living at all. So you got to have your play money. But when you do a good budget, then, and that's when you should work with a financial coach who can help you set all that up. And I would say that's something that you do, right?
Absolutely, yes.
That's right. So when you have a financial coach, you don't need to discover the earth. This person, that's what they do for a living. So surrender to them and let them help you. And that way, your values will come in and say, oh, look, that's not sitting very well with me. Or, wow, I never thought about it that way. Brilliant. And this person is helping you set it up, and then you go and do it. Right? Now, I wish I would have had a financial coach. And it's different from a financial advisor, in my opinion, because I've experienced financial advisors. And then I've experienced a financial coach. Very different. A coach is helping you achieve what you want, achieve your goals. An advisor advises you what things are out there. Yeah.
Most of the time, the advisor will sell you the products that give the best commission to him. Well, at least that's what I did when I was a financial advisor.
And that's okay too,
And that's
right?
also why I changed, because I don't like that style.
Yeah, so that's okay too. So that's if you have a joint. So depending who you listen to, some people will say have a joint account. And then some people say have your account, her account, his account, and a joint account. Unless you have a really, really, really good understanding where you each have your bank account, but you got to have some really cool boundaries and some really cool rules within your marriage. And it has to be quite secure where you go. And there's a lot of trust there where you each have your bank account, you have your independence, but you know that you put the bills are 50-50. Now, I know of couples that do that, especially same-sex couples. Works very well for them. And I've got quite a lot of friends that are same-sex couples, and they do really well. But they have a really, really cool understanding. So each to its own, but it's very important that people have a discussion about the bank accounts. We had joint bank accounts, so everything just went in there, but we never talked about it.
Okay, so the most important thing is talk.
Oh,
And then also all solutions work. Joint bank accounts, separate bank accounts, or a joint one and separate one. As long as you agree with what you're doing with those accounts, everything works. Is that what you say?
yeah, everything is an agreement. Now, you and I know about the Code of Honor, right? So Code of Honor is a set of rules that holds a team together, and a marriage is a team. So rules that protect you, protect your values, protect the values of the union. And because when the storms of life come and adversity hits, these are the rules that are going to protect you from harm. And you rely back onto those rules. So they're powerful. Like the Code of Honor in the army, if in war, it's life and death. Well, in marriage, it's actually life and death of the marriage if you don't have rules. So the Code of Honor is something that I help couples I work with. They got to create rules for their marriage, for their relationship, right? So communication, a lot of people say, communicate, let's talk. Yeah, it's how you talk is important. It's not demanding and expecting. It's actually sitting there with, I call it love in your heart, and go, I really want to understand what you want, and then listen. Not just hear, but listen with intention. Right?
Okay, sounds great. So communicate, not just talk. We need to talk. That's not a good time to create those rules. So create your code of honor in your rules in a sane moment.
That's right.
And include financial goals and financial rules.
That's right.
How you handle your money. Awesome. So what would be your first or number one tip that couples should do to improve their financial well-being?
Well, talk. I think it's communication is pertinent. And if they can't come to an agreement, then seek support. Because money and the financial situation of a relationship, it's a representation of the actual relationship, right? So what is actually happening at the core of the relationship? The money is just a sign. That's all that it is. So when communication increases, connection increases, there's more respect, there's more harmony in the relationship, the money is going to eventually work itself out. It doesn't mean that you won't have arguments. Arguments are great in a relationship. It's a must. It's actually a must. But an argument should make you better, should help each other to become better human beings, better partners, better everything. So, for example, one of the things that is really important is not to compromise, because a compromise is where one or the other gives up something that is important to them. So it's not really a win-win. It can be a win-loss. So you got to be careful where you compromise. If you're willing to give up something, oh, I'm okay with that, so I just let it go. But if you keep letting it go, it becomes an issue. So people in business negotiate. People always negotiate. And even if you go to a supermarket or you go to a retail store, you barter and you negotiate for a better price, but you don't negotiate at home. And in negotiation, if you look at a business in negotiation, two people come together, one that sells the service, one that buys the service. Everybody has an idea of how much I want to sell this at bottom price. What's my bottom price? And these guys know my bottom price or how much I want to spend. Any of these two parties that go lower, that's a compromise. It's no more a negotiation, and there's a loss. Okay. So whatever the reasons why they allow that, they need to look at that, because they're at a loss. Their bottom line is a loss. So in a relationship too, why can't you come and negotiate? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, until you go, okay, I'm good with that. So you want date night on Thursday, I want it on Wednesday, but you know what? Okay, let's do Thursday. I'll move my Pilates class to Wednesday. So that's a compromise. It's not affecting my life, but we've gone back and forth until we said, okay, that's what it is. Does it make sense?
Okay,
so it's very
negotiate, but don't compromise your boundaries, your bottom lines, so you don't lose and then resent the partner or the solution.
So there's there's room for compromise. However, if you look at negotiation, and I tell everybody, look up the definitions, look up the definition of compromise and look up the definition of negotiation, or put in compromise versus negotiation. Just do your own learning or your own studies. It's very, very interesting what comes up. And then you can decide which one works for you in your relationship.
Okay. So negotiate for win-win solutions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything else you have in your notes? Anything we haven't covered about money and relationships?
Yes.
Left.
And this is something that I've seen happen in relationships, is the salary differences. There are times where one earns more than the other, and then the one that earns less feels less than. So they don't feel they're good enough. And then they seem to search for satisfaction or fulfillment outside the relationship, whether that is an affair where they are being made to feel worthy or worthwhile, or they go out and do a lot of stuff on their own, or whatever it is, or they spend money or whatever it is. So then the partner who's making the money feels like, I keep making money and you keep on out there. So again, it comes down to connecting to what is really going on. And especially when the roles are reversed, when the woman is the breadwinner, and there's quite a lot of that going on, where sometimes women are the career ones and then you've got the dads at home. There's got to be a very, very important conversation there to make sure that everybody is happy with the situation. It's not just like, well, yeah, you make more money and that's okay. Everybody should feel, and I don't use the word should, must have often, but in a situation like this, people want to feel that they matter, that they're worthy, and you cannot put a dollar sign on a person. And sometimes people say, but look, I've given you this life. I made the money. Now, can you imagine how it makes the other person feel? And the other person must have thought, this marriage is beautiful, we're living really well and all of that. And now all of a sudden you are telling me that I'm not contributing. in some shape or form because I'm not making enough. So it's very, very important that you don't let salary differences come between you two.
Okay.
There's got to be
another thing to discuss, talk about, communicate, and have good money management system that reflects those income differences.
Yeah. And I came up with something else. Can I share something else?
Of course, please do.
Yeah. So another one is expectation. Mm-hmm. So you got to set expectations together of what your future is or what is it that you want. And one of the things that people are very, very confused about the meaning of the word expectation. So a lot of people think that expectation is a negative, it has a negative connotation because people put expectations of people. Expectation actually means that you believe that something good is going to happen. So it's actually quite a positive. So within yourself, you feel something good's going to happen. So you expect that to happen, right? So a little bit like the placebo effect. Mm-hmm. In a relationship, expectation means that you believe the other person knows what you want.
Oh.
Right?
How would they?
If you don't tell them, how they're going to know? Well, so the whole idea is for you to know what your expectation is of your life, how you want your life to look like, and then share it with your partner. Because they're not mind readers. I've heard a lot of people say they should know. And then I ask them, they should know why. Yeah. But they should know. But how should they know? Did you tell them? No. Or how should they know? Well, we've been together for a while. But in that whole while, did you actually tell them what you want? No. So then how should they know? So that comes down to money too. If you want something, well, you need to tell your partner, right?
Yep. So talk about your financial goals. Well, and any goals and plans for your life, but including the financial plans, goals, and expectations.
Absolutely. Yep.
Great. That's a good one. That's a great one. Thank you. Anything else, Annie?
Oh, I think I could talk to you till tomorrow morning. So I think, that's enough.
I think we've covered the most important things.
Yeah. One thing though.
Yes.
Don't let children run the show. I want. Of course they do. Okay. You know, but you can't let them run the show, and that actually creates angst again, because one parent, like in general, there's good cop, bad cop in a lot of families, and if your money blueprint is different, then that's going to come up in the rearing of the children, and then when it comes to give children things, and especially in our generation. Like, because I didn't have, when I was a kid, and my parents said, you know, salami grows on trees and it rains money, and I didn't have, and I spoiled my kid, and then so I want, and I just go, wow. I can see now that you got to find a balance in all of that. And what we used to do when our son was really young, he wanted to go to the toy store, and we would go in there and they would make him pick one. They said, okay, it's one. This or this. So he sat there and pondered it, and then he made a choice. There was not 10 choices, 2. That was it. So that's how we did it. And funny, I don't know how, because he was too little, but he always chose the best value for money. I can't believe he did that. And he would have been like 3, 4, 5, right?
But if they have to choose, they learn quickly.
That's right. So I think it's very important, as you can see, when there's a family with children, those money blueprints will come at play, and then create angst, create discussions. The children are privy to this, and in the long run, they are going to repeat the same behavior because that's what they're privy to.
Okay.
And I think I'm done now.
Great. So include the children in your money management planning.
Yeah.
No what they can have, how much is there for play money for that. Great. So Annie, if anyone, since we're not talking till tomorrow morning, if anyone would like to contact you, would that be okay for you?
Oh, absolutely.
So we'll include your email or whatever contact details you have below the episode, so people can find you and contact you if they have any questions about relationships and relationships with money.
Yeah. And I do have like a half an hour consultation with people that's my compliments, and see if I can support them in their relationships. And a relationship doesn't need to be broken in order to do work on it. I do have quite a lot of clients who have good marriages, but they have a few things going on, and then they say, we need to address this. So don't feel that you have to be completely broken to talk about it. The only thing I don't do is I'm not a money coach. So I have some ideas, but I get down to the root of where they come from. But I would love to support anybody who would love to know more.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for coming, Annie. And
thank you.
If you need a money coach, you can come to the Money Hero Academy. That's what we're here for. And thank you for listening to the Money and Business Hero podcast, and looking forward to our next episode. Have a
wonderful. Thank you for having me. See you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Money and Business Hero podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode and you get some value from it. Please take a moment to leave a rating, or even better, a review. That helps awesome people like you to find the show and me to produce more and even better episodes. And don't forget to subscribe. I even have an amazing gift for you if you leave a great review. I'll be running a 2-day Money Hero Bootcamp where we will work on those 3 pillars of financial success, so you will be able to rewrite your financial story for even greater success. The price for those 2 days is $197, and I will invite you as my guest. You can join the program for free if you leave a good review for this awesome new podcast. Thank you, and I hope to see you on that Money Hero Bootcamp. See or hear you soon. Have an amazing day.